Do this tonight and watch God completely rewrite your life story. Your breakthrough is closer than you think. There comes a moment in life when everything slows down. Plans stop moving. Phones become silent. People who were once active vanish. The energy you had turns into weariness, and your thoughts start asking questions you never asked before. You may find yourself lying awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering, what is happening to me? Why does everything feel still? Is my life stuck? Is this the end of progress? What if I tell you, this is not the end, this is the beginning? Nighttime is not a punishment, it's a divine doorway. A sacred hour where God begins the work no one else can see. From the first page of Scripture, there is a pattern. Life didn't begin with sunshine, it began with darkness. Before God said, "Let there be light," there was silence, there was emptiness, there was darkness. Yet, the Spirit of God was already moving over the waters. That means darkness is never the absence of God. It is often the workplace of God. When things get quiet, when nothing makes sense, when your heart is heavy, it may not be because God left you. It may be because He finally has your full attention. Night is not just a time, it is a spiritual season. There are days when you are strong, confident, energetic, and full of vision. Those are daytime seasons. But there are moments when the day ends and the night begins. It could be the loss of a job. It could be a broken relationship. It could be betrayal, heartbreak, failure, or delay. It could be that your plans didn't work or your prayers didn't seem to get answered. That is when nighttime arrives. But the night is not when God leaves. It is often when God begins His deepest work. Think about this. Israel escaped Egypt at night, not in the morning. Jacob wrestled with God in the dark, not in the sunlight. Paul and Silas worshipped at midnight when chains broke. But Jesus was born in the night when the world was sleeping. Stars shine only when the sky is dark. Do you notice a pattern? God often does His greatest work in the dark. He doesn't rush your nighttime. He doesn't chase away darkness quickly. He lets it settle. Long enough for you to slow down. Long enough for your soul to become still. Long enough for you to listen. Because when life is full of noise, your soul is often too busy to listen. But when the lights go out and distractions fade, your spirit becomes sensitive again. Some breakthroughs do not happen in noise. They happen in stillness. Some blessings don't grow in sunlight. They grow in darkness. A seed does not begin its life above ground. It grows in a hidden place. It breaks open when no one is applauding. It transforms without anyone seeing. But when it is ready, it rises. Perhaps that's what God is doing with you, not burying you, but planting you. Maybe this quiet season is not the end after all. Maybe it is God's secret way of preparing you for something only He can see. Many people make a mistake during their nighttime. They complain, they despair, they try to force things to change. But what if the miracle is not in fighting the darkness, but in understanding the darkness? Because the night season is not meant to crush your faith. It is meant to purify your faith. You learn in darkness what you could never understand in bright daylight. You learn courage. You learn humility. You learn to walk by faith and not by sight. You learn to say, God, even when I cannot feel you, I will trust you. Maybe your nighttime is not a hallway of fear, but a classroom of faith. Stop asking, God, when will this end? Start asking, God, what are you building inside me through this? When everything is silent, God speaks differently. Not with loud thunder, but with whispers. Not with big signs, but with subtle confirmations. A friend who calls unexpectedly. A verse that touches your heart deeply. A moment of peace that arrives when anxiety should have been stronger. That is not coincidence. That is God speaking softly. Because God is not just preparing the next chapter of your life. He is preparing you for that chapter. And preparation often looks like stillness. When God was preparing Moses to lead, He sent him to the desert, not to a palace. When He prepared David to be king, He placed him with sheep, not with soldiers. When He prepared Joseph to rise, He placed him in prison, not in a business school. Why? Because night seasons train the heart more than day seasons ever could. So what should you do in nighttime? Don't rush it. Don't escape it. Don't fear it. Embrace it. Say this prayer before you sleep. God, I don't understand this season, but I am trusting your timing. Use this night to build my heart, my faith, and my future. When you change your perspective, nighttime transforms. It stops feeling like punishment and starts feeling like preparation. You begin to notice little movements of God. You begin to regain strength. You begin to believe again. You realize maybe you are not here by accident. Maybe you are here because God is writing something new. Maybe the night you feared is the night God chose to start your miracle. So tonight, before worrying, before crying, before overthinking, pause. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and tell God, I am not afraid of this night, because I know you are in it. And slowly, that night will no longer feel like darkness. It will feel like the place before the sunrise. Many people pray every night, yet their lives remain the same because they are praying while still trying to control the outcome. Tonight, something different needs to happen. Not a long prayer, not a loud prayer, not a rehearsed prayer, but an honest surrender. The kind of surrender that comes when you finally lay before God the one burden you've been hiding for years. The struggle you cover with a smile. The pain you speak about to no one. The fear that wakes you up at night. The memory that still bleeds inside, even though the world thinks you healed a long time ago. God is not waiting for perfect words. He is waiting for your surrendered heart. Life does not change when your situation changes. Life changes when your posture before God changes. You may have given Him many things in prayer, but the one burden you've never truly surrendered is the one that's been blocking your breakthrough. Think about it. We give God our plans, our needs, our dreams, but we often hold back the wounds, the guilt, the disappointments, and the failures we are ashamed of. The things we secretly carry because we believe God might not accept them. But that is exactly what He wants tonight. He is calling you to trust Him with the parts of your life you do not even trust yourself with. The parts you fear people will judge you for. The parts you hope time will erase. But time does not heal what only God can heal. If you want your story rewritten, you must be willing to give Him the chapter you never wanted to read again. That is where transformation begins, not in strength, but in surrender, not in confidence, but in confession. There comes a moment when God leads you to the edge of your limit, not to destroy you, but to teach you to let go. Many of us are exhausted, not because life is hard, but because we are trying to carry what God is asking us to surrender. Like someone trying to swim while holding a heavy stone. The problem is not the water, the problem is the weight. And weight cannot drown you when you hand it over to God. Tonight, God is not asking you to swim harder, but to drop the weight. Stop trying to make everything work by your own strength. Stop trying to make people stay. Stop trying to figure out every answer. Stop trying to fix everything before morning. Surrender is not a sign of weakness. It is the doorway of breakthrough. Imagine a house with closed rooms. Some rooms you keep open because you are proud of them. They are organized, beautiful, well presented. But then there are other rooms you keep locked, where the painful memories are stored, where the hidden tears were shed, where the mistakes that you regret still live. You never let people enter those rooms. And in many ways, you never let God enter them either. Yet those are the very rooms He desires most, because God does not dwell where everything is perfect. He dwells where hearts are honest. And tonight, He is gently knocking, not on the polished surface of your faith, but on the neglected corners of your heart where real healing needs to begin. Let Him in. Open the door. Surrender the key. You may ask, how do I surrender? It is not about fancy words or complicated prayers. It is about being real. Come before God and say, Lord, I cannot carry this anymore. I've tried to fix it. I've tried to forget it. I've tried to control it. But tonight I give it to you completely. Take it, use it, heal it, rewrite it. I release my burden into your hands. That prayer may seem simple, but it can shake the foundations of your life, because heaven responds to honesty. Heaven answers surrender faster than effort. When God sees that your heart no longer wants control, He steps in and begins to take control. Look back at your journey. Wasn't there a moment when you almost gave up, but somehow God carried you through? That was not a coincidence. That was not luck. That was God silently saying, I am still writing your story. If He carried you then, He will carry you now. But this time, He is not only carrying you, He is rewriting the very part that broke you. The pain that has been following you like a shadow does not have to be your ending. God does not erase your past, He transforms it. He takes the very thing that once made you cry and turns it into the testimony that will make others believe. Your tears can become your ministry. Your weakness can become your assignment. Your struggle can become your story of restoration, but only after surrender. Sometimes the most spiritual moment is not when you shout in prayer. It's when you whisper, Lord, I'm tired. Take this from me. That is when healing truly begins. God cannot heal what you pretend isn't hurting. But tonight, if you dare to bring honesty to His presence, you will witness what it means to be truly seen, deeply understood, and powerfully restored. You won't walk away the same, because the moment you surrender, heaven starts working in ways you cannot see. The burden lifts, the atmosphere shifts, the weight begins to break. God steps in, not because your prayer was strong, but because your heart was open. This night could be the turning point of your life. Not because of what you will say, but because of what you will release. God doesn't need more words. He needs more surrender. He doesn't need longer prayers. He needs deeper trust. He doesn't need your perfect performance. He desires your imperfect heart. That is the sacrifice that moves heaven. That is the moment your story begins to change. And when you look back months or years from now, you will remember this night. not as the night you prayed the loudest, but as the night you finally put the pen in God's hands and surrendered the chapter you could no longer carry. And that humble prayer of surrender will become the seed of a rewritten story, a story only God could write. There is a moment in life when we finally realize that we are not the writers of our own destiny. We can make plans, we can set goals, we can dream big. But true transformation begins only when the pen of our story is handed over to God. When He becomes the author, everything changes. What once looked like failure becomes preparation. What felt like delay turns into divine timing. What appeared to be loss becomes the foundation for a miracle. God does not waste a single chapter of your life, even the ones you wish never happened. He can use them for purpose, for breakthrough, and for testimony. Tonight, something powerful can happen if you choose to surrender authorship, not out of defeat, but out of trust. When God writes your story, the painful pages become powerful turning points. Think about every book that ever inspired you. What made it so powerful? It wasn't perfection, it was the journey. The battles, the pain, the doubts, the twists and turns that all led to victory. The parts where it seemed like nothing made sense, until suddenly everything did. Your life is no different. The chapters you didn't understand were never random. God was developing something in you. Strength, wisdom, empathy, maturity, spiritual depth. The tears you cried were watering seeds you did not even know God planted inside you. When your story is in His hands, every valley has purpose and every mountain has meaning. God is not rushing your journey. He is writing it precisely. There are many who look at their past and believe they are disqualified. They think their mistakes have canceled their destiny. That because they failed, they can no longer be used by God. But heaven sees differently. God has never written a perfect story with perfect people. He specializes in broken vessels that still have breath. He calls the forgotten, the rejected, the inadequate, because it shows His power and not theirs. The fact that you are still here means your story is not done. If God was finished with you, you would not be reading this right now. The breath in your lungs is proof of ongoing purpose. And sometimes the reason your life feels stuck is not because God said no, but because you are still holding the pen. When God takes over authorship, something deep happens within your spirit. You begin to see life differently. You stop complaining about delays and start asking God what He is building through them. You stop questioning why certain people left and start realizing that God was protecting you rather than punishing you. You stop worrying about the future and start trusting that God is already ahead of you. A heart that trusts Him walks lighter, prays deeper, and sees clearer. God does not need perfect faith. He just needs surrendered faith. Faith that says, I don't know how, but I trust you anyway. Sometimes the hardest thing to accept is that your story is bigger than you. Every battle you have fought, every tear you have cried, every disappointment you walked through, none of it was wasted. God saw every sleepless night, every silent prayer, every moment you were tempted to give up. And while you fought your battles in silence, He was working behind the scenes in power. Your story is not written only for you. It is written for the people you will one day help. Your scars are not signs of defeat. They are roadmaps for someone else who needs direction. The same God who met you in your darkest moment can use you to reach others lost in theirs. That is why your story matters. That is why God wants the pen. Do not be discouraged by the chapters that were painful. God never promised a life without storms, but He promised to be the anchor in the midst of them. You may have been shaken, but you were never abandoned. Yes, you fell, but you did not fall beyond His hand. And the fact that you rose again means that God was already speaking redemption over your life. Every valley prepared you for something higher. Every delay strengthened something within you. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are in divine process. And when God finishes a process, there is always glory. Think of a painting from close up. All you see are messy brushstrokes, colors that don't match, lines that seem disconnected. But step back and suddenly you see the full masterpiece. This is how God sees your life. You see pieces, He sees purpose. You see conflict, He sees construction. You see confusion, He sees creation. God is not painting with your mistakes, He is painting through them. He does not edit your story, He transforms it. He does not discard broken pieces, He rearranges them. And what you thought disqualified you may actually be the very thing that qualifies you for His calling. Tonight, God is not asking you to understand everything. He is asking you to trust the one who knows everything. He is asking you to give Him full access to your life, not just the clean pages, but the messed up ones too. Not just the victories you are proud of, but the wounds you are ashamed of. Because God does His greatest work in surrendered hearts. That is where restoration begins. That is where new identity forms. That is where the old story ends and the new story begins. So tonight, shift your prayer. Instead of, God, change my situation, pray, God, write your will through my situation. Instead of, God, make my life easier, pray, God, make my life meaningful. Instead of, why did this happen to me? Pray, what are you preparing me for? This shift in prayer changes everything. It brings peace in chaos, clarity in confusion, and purpose in pain. It invites God to be God and not just a helper to your plan. When you hand Him the pen, the pressure lifts. You begin to live, not constantly trying to prove yourself, but resting in the fact that God Himself is guiding your steps. And when this happens, hope returns, not because circumstances immediately change, but because your spirit does. Faith awakens, strength rises, purpose returns. You begin to walk in confidence, not in yourself, but in the one who knows the end of the story before it even begins. And one day, when your testimony is complete, you will tell the world, I didn't write this story, God did. And that is why it turned out better than I could have ever imagined. There comes a sacred moment in a person's life when prayer shifts, when it is no longer about asking God to follow our plans, but inviting Him to write His own. That moment marks the beginning of transformation. It is the transition from striving to trusting, from anxiety to assurance, from fear to faith. When your spirit finally says, God, take the pen, the atmosphere of your life changes. You stop worrying about controlling outcomes and start embracing God's timing. You release the fear of the unknown and begin to walk with peace, even when the future is unclear. Because when God writes your story, you don't have to see the whole path. You only need to hold His hand. Tonight, that shift can happen. Not with loud words, not with complicated prayers, but with a surrendered heart whispering, write your will, not mine. Many people pray daily, but never experience breakthrough because their prayers are still centered around control. They pray and then return to worry. They ask God to move, but still cling to their own plans. They say, "Your will be done," but silently hope God will choose their way. That is not surrender, it is negotiation. True surrender happens when we let go of the need to understand and instead learn to trust. When you stop trying to guide God and start allowing God to guide you, tonight, God is calling you to release the pen. Not because you are weak, but because He knows the ending you have been praying for but cannot yet see. Think about the most beautiful stories ever told, from Scripture, from history, from the lives of people around you. None of them followed a straight path. Many of them began in weakness but ended in victory. They began in fear but ended in faith. They began in pain but led to purpose. Why? Because God was the author. When He writes the story, there may be valleys, but there is always a mountaintop. There may be tears, but there is also testimony. There may be delay, but there is never denial. God is not late. He is precise. Your life is not behind schedule. It is unfolding according to His plan. There are times when God redirects your life, not to punish you, but to protect you. Not to delay you, but to prepare you. When you cling to your own plans, you may be heading towards something small when God plans something greater. Sometimes He closes doors to open better ones. Sometimes He removes people because your destiny is too big for temporary company. Sometimes He allows discomfort, not to hurt you, but to move you forward. And when this happens, your heart must learn to say, "Not my will, but yours." Take the pen. Write your story through me. That is not a prayer of defeat. It is the highest prayer of spiritual maturity. There are people right now who are living proof of this. They once cried over a season they didn't understand, but later thanked God for it. They thought a relationship breaking was the end, but it freed them for their destiny. They thought a failure was permanent, but it became the moment their real purpose began. They thought they were forgotten, but God was quietly preparing them for promotion. Such testimonies only come from surrendered hearts, because God never writes an ordinary story with those who truly trust Him. He writes miracles. Life becomes different when God holds the pen. You walk with a different posture. You begin to interpret events not as accidents, but as alignments. Closed doors do not discourage you, they direct you. Waiting does not frustrate you, it shapes you. Delay does not destroy your faith, it deepens it. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "God, what are you preparing me for?" The enemy loses power when your heart shifts from control to surrender. Because when God is the author, no attack can erase what He has written, no weapon can stop what He has ordained, and no darkness can silence the light He placed inside you. When God takes the pen, fear begins to fade, because fear lives in the unknown, but faith lives in the one who already knows. Your life is not a random collection of events. It is a perfectly directed process. Even the parts you don't understand are part of the transformation. Like a puzzle, it looks confusing up close, but becomes beautiful when complete. God sees the picture before the puzzle is finished. Trust that He knows where every piece belongs, even the broken pieces. Even the pieces you wish were different. He does not throw them away. He uses them to complete the picture. Tonight could be the night everything changes for you. not necessarily in your circumstances, but in your spirit. A new chapter does not begin when things finally make sense. It begins when your heart finally surrenders, when you are no longer trying to prove yourself, defend yourself, or save yourself, because you finally understand that your life is safest when God is holding the pen. You may not know the next sentence, but you know the author, and that is enough. So when you pray tonight, pray differently. Instead of asking for answers, ask for alignment. Instead of demanding clarity, ask for closeness. Instead of, God, make my path smooth, pray, God, walk with me on whatever path you choose. Trust does not eliminate questions. It places them in God's hands, and He can handle what you cannot. This is where transformation begins. When your faith shifts from needing control to choosing surrender. When your prayer shifts from give me what I want to prepare me for what you want. When your spirit shifts from fearfully holding the pen to peacefully handing it over. And in that moment, peace comes. Strength rises, hope awakens. A new chapter begins, not because life suddenly became perfect, but because your heart finally said, God, the pen is yours. Write your will, not mine. And when you truly release it, you will begin to witness the story that only heaven could write.